Hello, friends. Yeah, I know. We have another one. This time, it is Lost in You. And for some reason, I keep reading this as Birdie Charles. That is not her name. Bridie is her name, I believe. And if I'm wrong, I'm so sorry. I saved the EPUB literally as Birdie because apparently I'm dyslexic. And that is not an insult to anybody who actually has dyslexia, please. Anywho, this is actually also part of a series. Nobody judge me. I think this is the latest one in her series. So if I like it, I'm going to go back and read the other two. Is it two? I think it's two. Anywho, we're talking about Lost in You, not the other two. In her little note, she says, for anyone who was looking for a little healing, I hope Marisol and Leo gave you some hope. And I think that's really, really cute. A little fun facts about this book. We have 314 pages. We have 45 chapters and an epilogue, and it comes out on April 29th of 2026. Yeah, I know. For once, I'm like not on the cusp of a deadline. Anywho, so the content warnings, because you know we have them. Lost in You is a light-hearted small-town romance. This story contains adult themes and is intended for readers 18 and over. This book contains on-page sexually explicit content and mature language. Other themes: grief, including loss of family members. Loss is off page years ago, but the grief is presented on page. On page PTSD in the form of nightmares correlating to a shooting. And on page presentation of an eating disorder in the FMC. So, if you are sensitive to any of these, be kind to yourself. Okay? Okay. She doesn't give me any details if this is dual POV. I think it may be, though. Yeah, she's giving me names. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be a dual POV. And I'm excited. Anyway. Let's get to reading. Okay. I want us all to remember that my mind is not where it should be. Memory of a goldfish, my friends. Okay. I'm so glad we got that out of the way. So I am 8% into this book. I think I've only been reading for like 20 minutes at this point, right? So Leo is best friends with Marisol's brother. And he's had a crush on her since he was a teenager. Which I kind of really love. Because it's always like when it's brother's best friend, it's usually the girl that has a crush. So this is legitimately, I think, one of the few times I've seen the guy have the crush. And I'm eating it up. Okay. So my first two not reactions, impressions. Thank you. Nobody said anything. My first two impressions of Leo and Marisol. Leo is a very sarcastic motherfucker. Thank you, Betty. Thank you. I fucking loved that. I giggled when I read it. And then Marisol, on the flip side, yeah. So call back to Tenderheart really quick, because that quote is just a universal quote. Um, we like Dick, we don't like the man attached to him. Okay. Um, the conversation between Marisol and her best friend, I love actually. Um, because that would be a conversation that somebody would have with their best friend and just dissolve into giggles. And I love it. Um, and then I just, as I keep reading, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. I know it. This is gonna be a good read. And then you fucking gave me this. I started my Kindle for at least a good 10 minutes. You want to know what this is giving? When did you get hot all of a sudden? Miss Sabrina knew what she was talking about. Because, Marisol is like, huh. I can see it. Marisol. Marisol, I think it is time to come to the conclusion that maybe, just maybe, you like the man. I mean, shit. Man came up in a suit with a limo ready, acting like a gentleman. For your sake. Not to get vulgar in chat, but like I'd be on my knees. Nobody said this to the man. Okay? Anyway, let's hope he didn't hear me. Um, but yeah, I'm 17% of the way in, and I've been doing this thing where I'm like tracking my reading, like how long I've been reading. I think I've only like actually read 35 minutes, maybe 40 if we're pushing it. This ain't gonna take me long at all to finish. Oopsies. Hello. Um, I recorded significantly less than I wanted to. But here we are. And I think this is going to happen a little bit more often now. Now that I'm hitting that peak of when everything's due. Oopsies. But here we are. Yes, I did finish Lost in You. I'll get to the review in like half a second. My notes, absolutely not existent. Literally, one of my notes is, oops, forgot to write anything down. But fuck Jack and Leo and Marisol forever. So, if that has any indication of where my brain has been, right? I'm going to highlight 3 quotes in this segment. One of them, they're both, well, no. One of them is a Marisol's perspective, and then the other one was Marisol yelling at Leo. But I'll get to that in a second. Marisol goes, he looks at me like he would get on his knees and bark if I asked him to, simply because I'm the one asking. Maybe he's been in love with you since you were a teenager. Yeah, he would. That man would get on his knees and thank you for anything. Okay? Okay. Um, there's nothing else left to say about that one. The other one. So to give a little context, he was staked outside her house to keep her safe, cause paparazzi, right? Um, and I'm leaving details kind of vague for a reason. But he's outside her house and he's like, no, I'm not going to come inside because we need some space because this fake relationship is getting a little too serious. Sir, it's always been serious, but I digress. But she's like, no, can you come inside, please? Like, this is going to get kind of ridiculous. You're sitting out in front of my house. Like, you don't need to do that. He's like, no, I'm not going to come inside. So she goes, sorry, I phrased that wrong. Get the fuck inside my house. Yes, ma'am. And he he looked at her for like half a second, was like, what? But I found that really, really funny. Get that man inside. Yes, ma'am. Um, this next note is a little bit longer because of what I thought happened and then what kind of got cleared up. So, without giving too much away and spoiling it, because I know my big ass mouth would, it's a very sensitive topic, and I understand where she's coming from. I understand it. I get it. I probably would have done the same thing. You know, that is a level of hurt and a level of it. I don't want to call it insecurity, but that's the only things coming to my head right now. Um, the situation is fucked in general. You know, um, he handled it about as well as he could have, given the circumstances, and she handled it about as well as she could have, given the circumstances. Because that's a scary thing that she went through. And he had access to that information. So I get it. And I really, really, really like it sets itself up as a third act breakup, but thankfully we divert from that. Because if it was a third act breakup, I would have texted my boss and said I was leaving work. Because what are we doing? No. Um, it's, I mean, I basically said it. Um, you know, if somebody had access to that type of information and did not gauge at least where my head's at about it, I think I would have felt a little miffed too, you know? And I get where he was coming from. You know, she was happy, she was moving on, you know, he didn't need to bring it back up. But at the same time, that was a big thing that happened. And before you're like, well, Nagi, what happened? What happened? I'm not going to spoil it. No, ma'am. Not me. Not here. I'm not trying to. Um, but I will say that Bridie, you did a very good job of tying up loose ends. Because you had me for a second. You had me thinking, well, what? Huh? That was the thing that happened. Why are we not circling back to that? No, we did. We did. So, those are my thoughts and my feelings for right now. Um, Anywho, the review. I think I did like this book. I really did like this book, and I'm going to read the other three because this is the fourth in the series. I am going to go read the other three after the month of May. But I think I landed at somewhere between a 4.25 and a 4.5, which feels really weird to say, but I was like flip flopping between the two of them. And I think because watch me rationalize this in real time, right? The setting that you put us in was beautiful. Um, I didn't realize that we were in Italy until like halfway through the book. I'm not even gonna cap. I was like, oh, I know that town name. Why do I know that town name? And then it clicked. I was like, oh, I've looked at Sorrento before. It just did not click up here. Um, but the settings, you did a really good job of describing and making them appear. The characters all felt very fleshed out. Um, you know, Marisol is a woman who learns to feel comfortable in her body again, um, which is a struggle I feel like almost all of us have. And if you're comfortable in your body, I'm gonna pop pop your shit, man, or sir, they, whoever you are. Um, and then Leo, he's someone who has been through a lot with his job, and that would fuck anybody up. And so now he's kind of learning to take it a little bit slower. Um, I think really kind of what kind of bumped it down a little is like, I don't know. I think having him be in love with her for so long, and like everybody knows it but her, it felt like was a little, I don't want to call it weird. It did well with the story. I I think there's some kind of like realistic part of my brain that's like, brother, you've had ample time. Please. Um, and then the little, not miscommunication, but like keeping that from her, I think also kind of, again, did it work well with the story? Yes. It's my own like personal feelings kind of getting in the way. Um, so overall, I think I'm gonna land at like a 4.5. Um, but I thoroughly enjoyed the story and where she took us. Um, Jack can go fuck himself. So can his hot thing. So can her brother. The unholy trinity. Oh boy. But yeah, I think that's where we're going to sit. So the full review will be up on Fable and Goodreads if you want to go take a gander. But yeah, that wraps it up for the April books. And now wish me luck for everything I've got in May. Oh boy.